the 1950s society, if you will. And so with that, we are going to start Dwight D. Eisenhower and this slide right here. So make sure, again, when you're doing these, that you are following along with me, you're taking and you're watching. Not only are you listening, you're watching, you're looking at visuals, and you're writing down anything I say that needs to be written down. Okay, so go ahead and get this first slide down. So we've been talking a lot about the Cold War, the leading up to the Cold War. It actually started during World War II, the Tehran Conference, the Yalta Conference, the Potsdam Conference, the splitting of Germany. You know, we've talked about containment, the idea that what color spreads the most? I hope you said red. And with that, we've talked about economic ways we fought it, Marshall Plan, Truman Doctrine, diplomatic ways we're fighting it, the idea of containment and the UN, and also some military in the Korean War, and the assistance in the Berlin airlift. But when Dwight D. Eisenhower takes over the presidency make sure we get down, he is going to be president from 1953 to 1961, a Republican. His nickname is actually going to be Ike. He's obviously elected on the former glory. Of course, you know Eisenhower because, how do you know him? He was Supreme Allied Commander of D-Day, and he's your hero of World War II. And so when he comes into the political spotlight, he's very loved. He is a Republican. Make sure you circle that. And you do want to maybe know that his vice president, you know this name, Richard Nixon. His slogan is, I like Ike. Win with Ike. You can see all this right here. Dwight D. Eisenhower, he's going to be your fun-loving, good times president of the 1950s. Because remember, the war is over. It's time to party. And with that, that means in the 50s, settle down, have a family, and stuff like that. So the first thing we need to talk about is a little thing called the GI Bill of Rights. Okay, go ahead and get this slide down. With that, the GI Bill of Rights, this is a little bit of a flashback. I went ahead and put that on your notes there because you'll notice who is in this picture signing it. FDR. I didn't talk about it because it dealt with post-war, okay? But in 1944, Roosevelt signs and here's the official name, you're going to want to write down the official name, the Servicemen's Readjustment Act, otherwise known as the GI Bill of Rights. Now, if you did your Truman worksheet, you're understanding that this whole point of this GI Bill of Rights is to help, I want to make sure you know this, to help, are you ready to write? Help out veterans. You'll remember after World War I, the little bonus army situation got Hoover a really bad rap. Not only does FDR want to avoid that, but he also has this idea that is actually really, really smart. This Serviceman Act or GI Bill of Rights, the whole idea, if you take a look right here, actually, see where I'm circling right there? It offers 4 kinds of help: education, job training, guarantee of loans, unemployment allowances, including self-employment and job finding assistance. You're going to find out real quick that FDR understands that what is better for us, veterans that are desperate and hungry on the corner, probably using whatever money they can beg off of people to go buy alcohol, or a veteran who's educated, has a job, spends money, and has a family. Obviously, it's the latter. And also, you want to take care of your veterans because they fought for this country. Now, let me go ahead and get this slide down. Let you go ahead and get this down real quickly. Pause it and get it down. So I'm only really having you write down one thing. It's the goal of the GI Bill of Rights. And not only is it, I'm going to be honest with you, you know I'm a military brat. It's not only just to help the veterans who helped us and fought for us. I mean, imagine those D-Day guys coming back. We owe them a debt of gratitude. But the GI Bill of Rights' other goal is to enhance our nation through a highly educated, underline that for me please, and productive, underline that, workforce. It's very simple. It's like FDR's New Deal. I give you money, then you do what with the money? Spend it. And then when you spend it, somebody else gets money. What do they do with the money? They spend it. A highly educated person, you guys know this, your AP students, they make more money, which means you can spend more money. So this GI Bill provided education, training, loans for farms, for businesses, for homes, unemployment if you can, okay, not find a job, of $20 a week for 52 weeks. Kind of interesting how they limited that kind of kind of a really good idea, actually. Job finding assistance. To be eligible for the GI Bill, all you had to be is a World War II veteran that served 90 days with an honorable discharge. The program ended July 25th, 1956, and other GI bills will be put into it. In fact, my brother has his master's degree on his GI Bill of Rights. If any of y'all have parents that served in the armed forces, you're eligible for their GI Bills. But the GI Bill helps veterans buy, look at this question down here. What do you think the answer is? I really hope you pick 3, giving them several types of economic assistance, because that's it, okay? With that, the GI Bill is going to be one of the biggest things. Should I go back to school? Well, if you have a GI Bill, of course you can. The total cost, I want to make sure you look at this. Oh my gosh, of the GI Bill, more than the Marshall Plan, $14.5 billion. But think about that money. If I'm spending that money sending you to college, what are you going to do when you get out of college? Make money and then spend it again. Okay, then it will go back and back and back and circle and circle and circle. It's kind of like, why do we give ACE to you guys? If you guys are doing a good job, it's because you'll have a better life, then hopefully you'll make a better living, and then we tax that living, give some other kid ACE, and now we're a better society. Look at this picture. I love this picture. This is the GI Bill of Rights, spurred the first substantial expansion of higher education. This entire picture, Harvard University. Literally, veterans constituted 75%. More than 2 million veterans went to college under the first GI Bill. There is one guy I'm going to go ahead and add in here. He's an add-in. Are you ready? He better be added in. I'm going to be checking for him. His name is Hector P. Garcia, and he founds the GI Forum for Hispanic American Veterans. Go ahead and just add him in between these 2 slides. I know he's not in there, but he is an EOC testable person, so he's going to basically do the exact same thing for Hispanic GI veterans as the GI Bill does for all veterans. He's just going to emphasize the need to make sure that Hispanics are taken care of as well. Now, the affluent society. I like that word right there, affluent. That means well-off society. Economic prosperity after World War II is very, very much there. You just got to think about war boosts the economy. It took us from Great Depression to basically a middle-class society. There is one area that specifically grows a ton. You need to make sure you get down the Sun Belt and underline sun. Okay, this is the area of the country, and if you take a look at this right here, population change 1950 to 1960, you'll notice that the largest areas of population growth are right here. The areas we typically know as the sunny places, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, California, beach weather kind of, right? So with that, the warmer climate, lower taxes, and lower labor costs and military spending kind of pull people over here. Because here's what's going to happen during World War II. We're fighting Japan, correct? Well, this area right here is largely underdeveloped, and we figure out real quickly that we can build factories, and the military spending, think about it, the biggest Marine base there is Camp Pendleton right here in San Diego. A lot of the technology bases are in California. There's going to be tons of money to be made in this area, so people are being pulled to this area for that. It's going to be known as the Sun Belt. Kind of like during World War I, a lot of people from the South were pulled to the North, African Americans, in what we call the Great Migration because jobs were up there. Well, now a lot of people are being pulled from the Northeast to the Southwest or the Sun Belt because there's jobs and military spending there. Important to know that geographical migration, okay? Now, here's another, this is such a better view of the Sun Belt. Sun Belt right here, you'll notice population, green and orange. That is the Sun Belt, and that's where the money's being made, so they go there. Now, the U.S. population was on the move. This Sun Belt kind of popped up. Another thing that popped up, babies. Always babies. Because literally, well, let's be real honest. The men were away for war for 4 years. Okay. We don't need to talk about it. Obviously, what did they do when they came home? They got married first, note to self, and then they went ahead and had children. Now, the baby booming generation, big time. Let's go ahead and get this down. Baby booming generation. You are writing down that in 1957, one baby was born every what? 7 seconds. That's what we call a baby boom. During the Great Depression, birth rates and populations decreased. Well, let's be honest. Of course they decreased. They couldn't even feed themselves. They didn't have money to have kids. another note to y'all. Okay, during World War II, technically, actually, the birth rate starts to rise. After World War II, it'll increase substantially. Here's a quote from a British visitor to America. Seems to me that every other young housewife I see is pregnant, which is true. If you take a look at this actually right here, it says 1900, 1910, 1920. You'll notice during, right here, population growth rate, during the wars and the Great Depression, technically it goes down. World War II, actually, it kind of levels off. But then it goes up even further, and it sustainably is highest it's probably been in a long time in the 50s and 60s. You'll notice right here, school enrollment during the 60s, it jumps up like crazy because the kids were born during the 50s. It's what we call the baby booming generation. Now, if you got a kid, where do you want to live? That's right, the suburbs, suburban living. Pause this, get it down. Now, the number one thing I want to make sure you get out of this is circle that word Levittown right there. That's technically going to be the classic suburb that historically we're going to look to. There was this guy named William Levitt. He was in the Navy. He knew how to get things done and to get things done fast. So what he does is he comes up with this idea of a suburb. Look at this picture. What do you think about that picture? Every single house looks the same, yes? But in a suburb, they're pretty. They have a white picket fence. You have dogs. You have 2 cars. You have a little family. And that's going to be the American quote-unquote dream in the 1950s. For $8,000 or $60 a month, no down payment, you can get a house. 1-story living room, 2 bedrooms, tile bathroom. You can literally live the American dream. So everybody starts buying it. William Levitt figured out how to produce 150 houses per week. Look at that. Boom. It was there. When supply goes up, price goes down. And by 1960, here's something you need to make sure you got down right here. By 1960, more than a third of the U.S. population were in the suburbs in places like Levittown. Now, suburban living, if you look at this, I know you guys don't have this data, but it's super interesting, okay? Population distribution, 1940 to 1970. Cities, 1940, 30%. 32%, 32%, 32%. It really kind of levels out there, but look at this. Suburbs versus rural. Suburbs used to be 20, then 23, then 30, then 40% by 1970. And the rural areas go down that much. So everybody's moving from the rural areas to the suburbs. This is according to the Census Bureau status. Take a look at this. This is just another way to look at that data. Of course, suburbs growth rates up, well, technically down during the 30s right there. Of course, nobody was living anywhere. And then, boom, and boom even higher. Suburbs are growing like crazy for a couple different reasons. Pause and get this one down. Super important. Okay, I hope you paused. Okay, the affluent society, growth of the suburbs. Remember, those that have a lot. The reasons for the growth of the suburbs. Number one thing I want you to circle right here. I'm going to be looking. Did you circle it? The baby boom. Think about it. If you're going to have a kiddo, you don't want to be inner city Harlem, okay? Not that that's not bad, okay? I'm sure there are babies in inner city Harlem that are doing just fine. But where do you want to live? You want to live where you have a yard. You want to live where, you know, there's a playground, all kinds of stuff like that. So baby boom is going to be one of the reasons the suburbs grow so much. The next thing is home ownership. We just talked about the GI Bill. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of GIs are coming home, getting really good jobs. And now things like Levittown make suburbs more affordable. Low-interest mortgage loans, the government-backed interest-deductible loans, mass-produced subdivisions like Levittown, write it out beside there, Levittown. 150 houses per week means the price is going to go down a lot. Expressways. Oh, yeah, that's right. People have cars in the 20s, but in the 50s, they have 2 cars and they have highways, which means commuting is going to be super easy. A decline in inner-city housing stock, congestion, pollution, crime. And here's the last thing, and this one does have to do with race. We're about to start talking about civil rights, but don't think that means everyone's going to sing and be all kumbaya with each other. There is something called the white flight that happens during the 1950s. And when you do look at a lot of these suburban living, and here are some TV shows of these suburban families in the 1950s, what do you notice about all of them? They're white. The mom looks perfect. There's a dad and there's 2 kids. Well, that one has 3 kids. Apparently, they really like to get busy. Father knows best. The Donna Reed Show. Leave It to Beaver. Ever heard of any of these? The Father Knows Best one is real sexist, but whatever. So anyways, long story short, you have tons and tons of stuff going on with the suburbs and all that kind of stuff. Tune in for the next video.